The Galactic Delusion. According to the records of the Central Archive, humanity was classified as a Class 3 civilization, intelligent but underdeveloped. Its technological level is pathetic. Its military doctrine is chaotic. Its behavior is unpredictable. And because of this, the Kazan Empire did not expect any problems. Lord Supreme Strategist Ruthless was reviewing tactical data on his command terminal. His ruby eyes narrowed as he analyzed humanity's military capabilities. 3 colonial worlds, he said dismissively. Orbital platforms with primitive kinetic cannons and nuclear warheads? Your Honor, his senior advisor, a Kazan named Vorkal, interjected. They have a fleet, but it's chaotic. They don't follow standard formations. They don't have any consistent fighting style. Excellent, Ruthless smiled coldly. So they don't even try to be a worthy opponent. The Kazan Empire's fleet consisted of hundreds of ships. Their battlecruisers were the size of human cities, capable of scorching planetary surfaces with beams of pure energy. Their tactics had been honed for millennia. Victory was inevitable. Only one thing didn't fit the picture. The humans didn't seem afraid. When their fleet entered the solar system, human troops did not panic. They did not start a mass evacuation. They did not ask for negotiations. They just waited. The beginning of the invasion. The first strike was ritualistic, demonstrative. The Kazan fleet emerged from hyperspace beyond the orbit of Mars, creating a shining armada that blocked out the starlight. Automatic messages were sent to Earth's orbit. Humanity, you are facing the invincible power of the Kazan Empire. We offer you a choice, conquest or destruction. What is your answer? The answer came almost immediately. An image of a man appeared on the flagship's main screen. A man in a dark uniform with a hard look. His voice was calm, without a shadow of fear. This is General David Hale, commander of the United Space Fleet of Earth. You have entered our space without authorization. We suggest you leave the system immediately. They're bluffing, Vorkal shrugged. It's a joke. In that case, Ruthless said, we'll wipe out their pride along with their fleet. The first wave of the attack began with a mild show of force. Dozens of Kazan bombers went on the attack. They expected an instant defeat. Instead, nothing. The targeting systems began to malfunction. Communications began to be interrupted. When they tried to make a second pass, they found that there was nothing around them. The human ships disappeared. What the one of the officers began, but his voice was cut off when the first enemy attack came out of the darkness. The people did not attack them from the front. They did not engage in classic fighting. Instead, they were sitting down. High-speed shells pierced the shields of the first cruiser. No one even had time to realize where they came from. The second ship was torn apart when something that looked like an asteroid fragment hit its reactor. What's going on? Ruthless yelled. Surprise attacks! They're hiding among the debris in the asteroid belt. The Kazans had never encountered such tactics. They expected a fair fight and got chaos. Death from the shadows. In the first 3 hours of the battle, humanity did not lose a single ship. This can't be a coincidence, whispered Vorkal. They're not as primitive as we thought. Cut the crap, snapped Ruthless, clenching his clawed hand into a fist. But if that were the case, why are they the only ones who have lost? Your Honor, one of the analysts said nervously, we've received reports from the humans. Ruthless bared his teeth. At last, they've realized their place. Put him on the screen. The image of General David Hale appeared before him again. Greetings, Kazan Empire Command, he said. I was hoping you'd make the mistake of coming in person. You don't know what you've gotten yourself into, human, Ruthless growled. Your fleet is useless. Our fleet? The general paused for a moment, then smiled. Ruthless tried to answer, but at that moment, hundreds of human ships emerged from all sides of the darkness. They were waiting. They were waiting for the enemy to make a mistake. You know, General Hale said thoughtfully, you're not the first to underestimate us. And I don't think you'll be the last. Pride before the fall. Your Honor, we have problems. The Kazansi officer's voice trembled. Supreme Strategist Ruthless slowly turned his head. His red eyes glowed with anger. I can see it, you walking bag of mistakes. The main tactical display of the Imperial flagship, the inevitable judgment, flickered with a real catastrophe. Where 2 hours ago there was a perfectly organized battle formation of the Kazan Empire, now a goddamn circus. People were not fighting properly. They didn't follow standard tactics, didn't form defensive lines, didn't fight a direct battle. They just disappeared and reappeared wherever they wanted. How? Ruthless roared, pounding his fist on the command console. The officer swallowed. We don't understand yet, Your Honor, but it seems they just know where we're going before we go. Ratal froze. What? Their ships are attacking us where we haven't even put up a full defense yet. They're using, say it, traps, Your Honor. They're luring us into ambushes. They're toying with us, playing. Ratal clenched his fists so hard his claws pierced his own armor. Traps? They think they can fool us? But when he glanced at the tactical display, something in his bile-filled anger faltered. It was a disaster. The Kazan ships were flying in straight, predictable trajectories. The human vessels, however, were bold, chaotic, ridiculously fast, and tore their formations apart. They were not just fighting. They were playing war, and they were winning. "Report!" Ratal barked, approaching Vorkal's chief advisor. He didn't look well. "Speak up!" Vorkal twitched. Our forces are scattered. The enemy ships are using cunning maneuvers and what? And they're launching rocks at us." Ratal blinked. "Rocks, Your Honor. Asteroids. They're just tugging them up, accelerating them, and throwing them at our ships. Silence. You mean they're—" "Yes, Your Honor. They're firing space junk at us." Ratal felt his eye twitch. "And it's working?" Vorkal nodded. "One of our heavy cruisers, the Terrible Judgment, was destroyed by an asteroid." "An asteroid?" "Yes, a big one, at high speed." Ratal sat back in his chair. He felt his worldview begin to crack. That can't be true. But the comms interrupted his thoughts. General David Hale appeared on the screen again. He was smiling. "Well, guys, how do you like our solar system?" Ratal choked on his rage. "You dirty—" "Hey, watch the language," Hale said gently. Ratal literally choked with rage. "This is a temporary misunderstanding. We will destroy you." The general pretended to think. "Oh, you haven't realized yet? You've already lost. You just don't know it yet." Ratal clawed at the comms console, cutting off the conversation. "Attack! Full storm!" The playtime was over. General Hale stood on the command bridge and watched as the enemy fleet began to move in for an aggressive attack. "Good news. We've pissed them off," he said. "Bad news. Now they're really going to kill us." The liaison officer, Lieutenant Mark Drake, leaned forward. "What are we doing, sir?" Hale smiled. "We're going to activate the Lose Them the Fuck Up protocol." "Lose them the fuck up, Lieutenant. That's the official name." Mark didn't seem to be reassured. "Sir, can you explain?" Hale nodded. "Sure. Look, these lizards, they're officially called Kazan, sir." "Thank you, Lieutenant. I know that. I just don't want to give them the satisfaction of being called correctly." Drake raised an eyebrow. "If you say so, sir." "So these lizards have never fought an enemy that doesn't come straight at them. They expect us to defend ourselves in static points, so we just won't be where they're looking for us. You want us to run away?" No, we'll just disappear." The lieutenant sighed. "It's the same thing, sir." Hale winked. "Only if you don't know the difference. When the Kazan troops entered the area where the human forces were supposed to be, there were no humans." Ratal gnashed his teeth. "What? Where did they go?" And the answer was simple. They were waiting. And when the enemy got too far, the humans struck, from all sides. At night, when no one was waiting, and the blow was fatal, the Kazan Empire fleet began to crumble. And for the first time in his life, the supreme strategist Ratal realized the true meaning of the word chaos. When things didn't go according to plan, Ratal stood in the middle of the command bridge of the flagship, Inevitable Judgment, and couldn't believe his eyes. It was chaos. His perfect, disciplined fleet, which had seemed like an invincible force just a few hours ago, now looked like a disorganized pile of scrap metal trying not to crash into each other. "What the hell is the star sickness happening here?" he roared, causing several officers to flinch. Vorkal, who had already developed a healthy fear of death, replied, "Our ships can't find the enemy." "What? They just disappear?" Ratal clenched his fists as if trying to suppress his hatred physically. "How is that possible? We scan space in all spectrums. We have the best guidance systems. Our sensors can detect a speck of dust in a planetary ring." "Yes, Your Honor, but the human ships are not where they should be." Ratal was about to shout again, but another officer interrupted, looking like he was about to write his will. Silence. A lingering, heavy silence that could break the spine of a black hole. Ratal sighed, feeling his eye twitch. "Are you serious?" The officer nodded. "The humans lured us into a chaotic space where we can't maneuver effectively, and now they've begun to take us out. How?" "Well, they're using everything they can." Ratal pressed his fingers to his temples. Ambushes, guided asteroids, minefields that aren't even minefields, just piles of scrap metal that explode. Oh, and they're launching some kind of satellite that creates false targets. Satellites? I think they call it Deception 3000. Rital clenched his fist so tightly that bluish blood began to ooze from his claws. You mean they literally fooled our scans with false targets? Yes, Your Honor. That's illegal. There doesn't seem to be a rule in human combat doctrine, Your Honor. Rital felt his galactically honed strategic thinking having a heart attack. Humans and their foolish ideas. The atmosphere on the bridge of the human flagship TNS Defiant was very different. General David Hale was sitting in the captain's chair, sipping coffee. So how are our friends doing? He asked, not looking up from the screen where an old recording of a comedy show was playing. Communications officer Mark Drake couldn't help but laugh. They seem to be panicking, sir. One of their captains literally screamed into the air. This isn't fair. Hale nearly choked on his coffee. Oh my God, did they really think we were going to fight by their rules? So it seems, sir. Hale laughed. Look, I've been in the military for years, but this is the funniest damn thing I've ever seen. Sir, we have a channel request from their supreme strategist. Oh, go ahead. This should be interesting. Rital's image appeared on the screen. He looked like he was about to eat his own hand. General Hale, this is a violation of all standard protocols of war. Hale leaned back in his chair. Which ones? Rital blinked. What do you mean, which ones? Well, you didn't even recognize us as a serious threat. So what protocols are you referring to? Rital opened his mouth but closed it. You're joking. No, why? We're serious. We just play a little differently. Rital was about to shout again when his officer whispered something in his ear. Rital froze. What? Say it again. The officer looked like he wanted to fall through the floor. Our main flagship has been captured. Hale smiled. Oh, sorry. It's our guys. We told you there would be many surprises today. Rital exhaled a breath that sounded like something was crunching in his lungs. How did you manage to take over the terrible judgment? Hale scratched the back of his head. Well, you think we're chaotic. But there's one interesting thing you haven't considered. What's that? When everyone around you thinks you're a mess, it's actually very easy to be organized. They just don't notice it. Rital sat in silence. So what's next? Hale pretended to think. I don't know. We can just keep going like this. Or you could start thinking about surrendering. We never surrender. Oh, come on. You're a smart man, Lizard. You can see by now that this is a war you don't understand. Rital looked at the battle map again and realized that Hale was right. The human ships were destroying their army out of sheer cunning. They had never played a fair war. They were playing their own game. And at that moment, fear began to rise in Rital's mind. The Kazan Galactic Empire was no longer the hunter. It was the prey. The supreme strategist Rital stood in the center of the command bridge of the flagship, Inevitable Judgment, and realized that his career was going into a black hole. Right now, all the screens in front of him flickered red. His fleet, the most powerful in the history of the Kazan Empire, was disintegrating like a child's construction during an earthquake. And the cause? Humans. Those primitive apes whom he considered no more than insects for some reason, refused to fight a normal war. They didn't meet his troops in open combat. They didn't defend their colonies properly. They just damn well disappeared and then appeared wherever they wanted and shot everything to pieces. Rital turned sharply to the tactical analyst, who was blinking nervously with 3 pairs of eyes. Tell me something is working. The officer swallowed down a lump of panic and pressed a few buttons on the terminal. Well, we still have control of the Weeper 3 sector. Weeper 3 is their colony. No, it's an empty asteroid belt, Your Honor. But we are there. Rital inhaled and exhaled slowly. So you're telling me the only success we've had in this war is controlling rocks? Big enough rocks. Rital rubbed his face with both paws. That's it. That is enough. I want to know where the main human forces are now. The officer pressed something again, and a 3-dimensional map of the battle appeared before them. There were their fleet remnants. And there were human ships. They did not surround, advance, or attack from the front. They walked in circles around them, like sharks around a wounded whale. And something told Rital that this was exactly what humanity intended. Hey, you've got a summons from common sense here. Sir, we've received a new message from the human command, the communications officer said. Is this their surrender? The officer nervously rubbed his eyes. No, they sent an audio file. Rital frowned. What is it? The officer turned on the recording. A voice came from the speakers. "Attention, Kazans. General David Hale is here. You're a little hard of hearing, so I'll say it again. Your armada is in the shitter, your ships are on fire, and your pride as well. I think it's at the bottom of a black hole. Maybe it's time to think about it." Silence. The Kazan officers looked as if they had just been electrocuted. Rattal slowly leaned back in his chair. Did they just make fun of us?" "Yes, Your Honor, and in a very professional manner." Rattal was about to say something, but another signal came through. A new message. "What now?" The officer turned on the playback. This time it was just a recording. "The circus has left, the clowns remain. Sincerely, humanity." Rattal just fell head over heels on the remote. While Artal was filled with his own hatred, there was a real celebration on the bridge of the human flagship TNS Defiant. General David Hale was sitting in his chair, sipping his legendary coffee, smiling. "Guys, how are our friends doing?" Lieutenant Drake replied, not hiding his smile. "Complete chaos. They lost their coordination. We just have to finish them off." "Great. Then it's time for another surprise." The lieutenant became serious. "You mean Phase Omega?" "Oh yes, that's the one." Drake smiled. "So, shall we launch?" "We shall," and that's when the Kazans began to panic. "What the hell is this?" Chaos broke out again on the bridge of the inevitable judgment. "Your Honor, a new signal. It's unlike anything else." Rattal looked up. "What is it?" "It's some kind of strange signal. They're altering our navigation, disrupting our communications." And Rattal winced. "And what?" "And they're broadcasting some kind of music on all our channels." "Music!" At the same second, the bridge was filled with rhythmic bass. "Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down." Rattal felt like he was either going to die of a stroke or kill someone himself. The officer swallowed. "Your Honor, I think we're being rolled." The Kazan Empire had just officially suffered the most humiliating tactical blow in its history. Within 5 minutes, the Kazan command structure was shattered mentally. The human ships were not just attacking, they were waging war on the level of the psyche. They made the Kazans feel like fools. It was one thing to lose a battle. It is another to be ridiculed, defeated, outplayed, and forced to listen to old Earth music against your will. The supreme strategist Rattal stood in the middle of the bridge and trembled, not with fear. "Your Honor, what do we do?" he breathed. Rattal took a breath and felt his pride leave his body. "Tell all fleets, retreat." The officer froze. "Are you serious? We're surrendering?" Rattal looked at him and then at the main screen where a new message from humanity was glowing. "We told you so. You just haven't realized you've lost yet." Rattal lowered his head. The galaxy had just changed. A statement to the universe. The Kazan Empire fleet was fleeing. These majestic warships, each once thought invincible, were tearing through space in a panicked retreat. It was unheard of. The Kazan never retreated. But today they did. Today they learned a new law of the galaxy. Humanity does not play by other people's rules. The supreme strategist Artal sat in his quarters, gloomily staring at the darkness outside the porthole. His empire had not only been defeated, it had been ridiculed. They had been sent home to music that even the Intergalactic Committee Against Torture would have deemed cruel. And now, after the disgrace, they had to do the worst. Report to the Emperor. An urgent meeting in the Imperial Palace. Emperor Kazal sat on the throne, his 4 eyes flashing with anger. The throne room was silent. The supreme strategist Rattal was kneeling before him. "Do you mean to say that you have lost?" Rattal did not look up. "Yes, Your Majesty." "To the people?" "Yes, Your Majesty." The Emperor stood up. "You mean to tell me that the proud Imperial Armada that destroyed 17 civilizations was defeated by a group of apes from a stone planet?" Rattal sighed. "They do not fight normally. They are cunning, adaptable, brutal, and they seem to enjoy the process." The Emperor slowly sank down on the throne, folding his arms. "That is a problem." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Did they demand surrender?" "No, they simply allowed us to leave. But before that they said that from now on, we would play by their rules." The Emperor frowned. "What does that mean?" Rattal looked up. "I don't know, but I'm afraid we're about to find out." On the first day of the new rules, the Galactic Federation's conference room was buzzing with discussion. There was only one question on the agenda: what to do with humans. Previously, they were considered a young, disordered race. Now everyone saw that they were not so defenseless after all. Ambassador Gracchus of the Cetan Union rubbed his three-fingered hands nervously. So, distinguished representatives, to summarize, the Kazan Empire, considered the strongest military power, was defeated by humans in a war that lasted how many days? 7, replied Earth's representative, Ambassador Harper Mason, as he sipped his tea. Gracchus looked as if he'd just been informed that his bank account had been cleared. An entire interstellar empire was brought to its knees in 7 days? Harper smiled. Well, we decided to move quickly. The Arkan representative flapped his transparent wings. And what are your demands now? Do you want a seat on the Federation Council? Economic preferences? Control of the hyper corridors? Harper sipped her tea and shrugged. No, we just like to see your faces. The entire council froze. So you have no demands? Well, there is one, she leaned forward. From now on, if anyone decides to invade the solar system again, they should consult a psychiatrist first. The room was so silent that even the automatic ventilation system slowed down. And then someone burst out laughing. It was a representative of the Kazans. Ambassador Tehran, who had the least desire to communicate with humans after the humiliation of his empire, laughed so hard that tears dripped. It's settled. No one will touch you anymore. All the members of the council supported this unanimously. Galactic diplomacy in a human way. After the meeting, Ambassador Harper went to the council chamber. Admiral Darius Graves, commander of Earth's United Space Fleet, was waiting for her. What did they decide? He asked. We've officially been left alone. Graves raised an eyebrow. Is this a victory for diplomacy? No, it's a victory for striking so much fear into them that they're afraid to even ask how we're doing. Graves rubbed his chin thoughtfully. So now we can work on the "what if the galaxy goes crazy again" plan. Harper smiled. Of course, I've already prepared a title for it. What is it? Military strategy? Make them think again. Graves laughed. You mean demonstrating that it's better not to mess with us? Harper winked. Exactly. The last message to the galaxy the next day, the Galactic Federation received an official statement from humanity. It consisted of one sentence: we are not evil. Just don't make us explain ourselves again. The Kazan Empire did not send a response. No one did. The galaxy understood. The humans hadn't just survived. They had changed the rules. The next morning, after the Galactic Federation meeting, the entire galaxy woke up with a feeling that they had done something very stupid yesterday. It was like the moment when you wake up after a wild party, check your phone, and see that you've texted your ex, ordered a taxi to another country, declared war on humanity. Oh wait, that's a real story. The great interstellar empires began to rethink their existence. The Drachnid hegemony, which had long considered humans to be primitive meatbags, suddenly reconsidered its attitude. Perhaps we were a little harsh in our language? Asked Supreme Warlord Gaythorn cautiously at an emergency council meeting. Your Honor, they used orbital debris as a weapon. They wiped out the Kazans in a week. They rolled them in the middle of a battle. The conference room fell silent. Finally, the Supreme Warlord concluded, yes, we need to urgently revise the textbooks on military tactics. The Kazan Empire, welcome to the club of those who failed. At the same time, Emperor Khazal was gathering his council. Is there any way to explain this? Minister of Propaganda Duran raised a paw. We can say that it was a strategic regrouping. Ratal, who had been sitting there with dead eyes, finally spoke up. No, we were destroyed, humiliated, and they made us listen to terrible music. Defense Minister Havar decided to be realistic. Maybe we should just announce that we no longer plan to conquer. Peaceful policy and all that. The Emperor thought about it. You mean pretend that we've suddenly become pacifists? Yes, and call it a new era of galactic coexistence. Ratal stared at him. So you're suggesting that after thousands of years of domination, we tell everyone that, oh, sorry, we've changed our minds? What other options do we have? Silence. The Emperor exhaled heavily. I officially declare a new era of peace and friendship. That sounds very nice, Your Majesty. Shut up, Ratal. People, now for business. While the entire galaxy was trying to digest the new reality, humanity acted quickly. Suddenly, all interstellar trading corporations realized they had the most valuable commodity in the universe. Military textbooks, How Not to Lose a War in a Week. Seminars, Effective Use of Chaos and Strategic Planning. Video courses, 101 Ways to Use Space Debris in War. The textbook How to Win a War and Gain the Respect of the Whole Galaxy was the most downloaded book in the Federation, but the biggest profit came from merchandise. T-shirts with the inscription, I survived the war with humans and all I got was this stupid T-shirt, were sold out on the black market. Mugs with the words "Galactic Plan"? No thanks. I have Earth mugs became popular among officers of various navies. The Kazans even signed a contract to make a documentary about their honorable defeat. The title is How We Made a Huge Mistake, Chronicles of an Imperial Fiasco. Federation Council. Now only peaceful, right? The next meeting of the Galactic Federation was held in an atmosphere of unprecedented caution. Ambassador Harper Mason entered the council chamber with her usual cup of tea. All Federation representatives moved a few steps away from her. Finally, High Counselor Qatar cleared his throat. Ambassador Mason, if I may ask, what is your policy now on engagement with the galactic community? Harper smiled. Oh, it's simple. We will be friendly, open until provoked. The Drachnid ambassador nodded slowly. So the war with you was a one-time mistake? That's up to you. Harper took a sip of her tea. But we reserve the right to creative self-defense. The room was so silent that even the translation droids lowered their volume. Finally, the Zaytan representative, who had been silent until then, muttered, I think we all agree on the idea of not provoking people. Everyone unanimously agreed. Humanity, the key is to keep them on their toes. At Starfleet headquarters, Admiral Darius Graves was reviewing the latest reports. So we're officially off the radar no more? Ambassador Harper sat down across from him. Yes, they're too busy being afraid of us now. Graves smiled. So what's next? Harper picked up her cup of tea. Nothing much. We just wait. For what? She smiled even wider. Until someone decides we're weak again. Admiral Graves laughed. And then what? Harper put her cup down on the table. Then they'll know we still have a lot of creative ideas. And with that, she left the room, leaving behind an atmosphere of light but very effective fear. The galaxy has changed forever. The galaxy has changed. Before, humans were considered a frivolous young race, monkeys from a stone ball. Now they were the ones that even the most daring empires were afraid to touch. The Kazan Empire, once proud conquerors, entered a phase of sudden pacifism. They even issued a statement. We have always supported peace and diplomacy. Everything else is a historical misunderstanding. The Galactic Federation stopped making decisions without consulting the Earth, because now the main question was not what to do with people. The main question was, what will people do if we do something? Space does not forget. On board the human flagship TNS Defiant, General David Hale watched the screen where archival footage of the Kazan's defeat was played. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Mark Drake, looked at him. Sir, what if they try again? Hale smiled. Oh, they will, sooner or later. And then what? The general leaned back in his chair. Then we'll remind them once again why they should be afraid of us. Humanity did not demand territories, resources, or power. Humanity demanded only one thing, to be left alone. Because if this does not happen, the cosmos will once again learn what it means to play by human rules. A game in which only we can win.